Welcome back to 02 Million Crypto. My name is GC. We are live. Yes, we are live. Joining me on my way home from physiotherapy. Today, let's talk about a few different topics in the crypto market. Some of the most important stories that are hitting the mainstream as of late. The first one I want to talk about is we have news that Grayscale has sold off about $400 million worth of Bitcoin in the last couple days. Now, Grayscale is one of the biggest players in the space when it comes to buying large quantities of Bitcoin over a long period of time. And we know that Grayscale has been in the space for a long time, and for them to be selling off so much Bitcoin as of late goes to show that there seems to be, I don't want to say some sort of conspiracy, but there seems to be an effort by the big boys in the crypto space, particularly the ones that are buying Bitcoin in large quantities and the biggest players in buying Bitcoin. There seems to be an effort to, kind of sell while others are buying and buy while others are selling. And I'm talking about the big boys here. I'm not talking about retail investors when it comes to this particular situation. But some of the bigger players are trying to buy when others are selling and sell when others are buying, probably to keep the price at such a low level, in comparison to what they can afford. I mean, for the average retail investor, buying $40,000 USD worth of Bitcoin is no easy task. For some people, it may take 1 to 5 years to be able to accumulate that kind of Bitcoin. And for these big boys, I mean, the space, it seems like it's just about to take off to a whole new level. And to be able to acquire the most Bitcoin and crypto as possible, they're going to have to play these type of games with retail investors, especially when we're in the type of point of sight. Especially when we're in the type of point of the cycle that we're in now, where we're kind of in this mode where we don't really know if the market is going to go up or down in the short term. We are kind of in the accumulation phase when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto in general. We're not seeing Bitcoin increase in value and keep those gains for very long, and vice versa. When Bitcoin sells off, usually we'll get a small pump back to whatever levels that we were at before. So we're kind of in this, flat zone when it comes to price action for Bitcoin. And you got to understand that the big boys, the big players, these big trust funds and hedge funds, they're loving this price action, because the longer that the price kind of stays around 40,000 US, these trust funds are going to have such a huge advantage over big institutions that aren't getting in right now, and probably are thinking that Bitcoin may not be the next big thing, and it may just be, the next thing to fall flat on its face in the financial sphere. Maybe they think that crypto as a whole, the whole crypto space as a whole, is going to go under at some point. And, Blackrock being the biggest wealth institution pretty much in the entire world, owning trillions and trillions of dollars worth of capital, they seem to have some sort of know-how and knowledge that Bitcoin is that next big thing, and that's why they're taking action right now, while some of these other institutions and companies just don't see it. And what we know is an institution like Grayscale, a corporation as big as Grayscale, if they aren't investing in Bitcoin right now, they're probably investing in some sort of traditional stock or maybe even bonds. And, forward thinking is key when it comes to investing. You're always thinking to the future, even if you're going to take a minor loss right now. And obviously, Grayscale, they are trying to play this game just like the rest of the people in the crypto market that have a lot of money. They're trying to, ride the tide when it comes to selling and buying at certain price points when everyone seems to be, kind of bored with the crypto market as a whole. So Grayscale selling $400 million worth of Bitcoin in only a few days doesn't really faze me, and shouldn't faze you either, especially if you've been in the crypto market for a while. If you're new to crypto or new to Bitcoin or investing in general, hearing an amount like that being sold off in such a volatile asset space, let alone Bitcoin itself, it could scare you off. It could make you second guess, just how safe Bitcoin may be as an asset as a whole. $400 million is nothing to sneeze at for a regular retail investor, but when it comes to these big institutions, they got so much money to play with, and they've been in the space so long, they understand the emotions that go into it, and they understand that other institutions seeing Grayscale sell $400 million in such a short period of time is almost like a drop in the bucket, because if they were bearish on Bitcoin, if they weren't so sure about Bitcoin, they would probably be selling a lot more, and they would probably be exiting their positions in much greater fashion. And you got to remember that crypto as a whole is about a little over $1 trillion, I believe, in overall market cap in the whole space. You have Bitcoin, which is worth about half of that market cap. So, which is also to say that Bitcoin is the least volatile out of all the assets in the crypto space. So, people that aren't familiar with this kind of behavior from bigger institutions playing around in the space, they're not going to understand what's really going on, and they're going to probably second guess even if it's worth investing into crypto, and they're going to start looking at it more of a gambling kind of asset class, just by putting your money into it, losing 5-10% or even 20 to 30% in only a few days, in compared to gaining that same amount in only a few days. Seems like almost like putting money on red or black at a casino. So long-term investors aren't going to be fazed by this, and me being a long-term investor, this doesn't scare me in the slightest. And you also have government institutions, particularly the Department of Justice in the United States. They sold off $130 million worth just about of Bitcoin in the last few days. So we're getting hit from all angles as investors. We're learning that it's not only institutions, it's not only, these investment firms and hedge funds that are playing, around in the market by selling and buying at particular times, maybe, gaming the system in a certain way, kind of trying to FUD out the rest of the people that are trying to, get their crumbs into this big Bitcoin pie before it really takes off. Bitcoin itself, let alone the entire space. We have the government. When the government gets their hands on a certain amount of Bitcoin or crypto, we can look at it as manipulation when it's being sold off by them, because you're not going to really hear about the Department of Justice per se buying a whole bunch of Bitcoin. You're probably going to hear them selling it after they have seized it off of some sort of criminal activity, or got their hands on it in a way where it's not particularly them buying it. It's them getting their hands on a large swath of Bitcoin or crypto due to something happening in the world where someone was, being nefarious or playing games with money, where, the government had to intervene and seize the money. So you could tell that a lot of people aren't looking at fiat as the safe haven for money anymore. A lot of, especially criminals, are looking at crypto as the gold standard for money in general, or rather, I would say Bitcoin is the gold standard for money, because they're going to see a volatile asset more worthwhile to be, having their funds in. And, when the government seizes this type of money and it gets sold off, maybe not necessarily on spot, but if it's being sold off, it's going to affect the markets in a way where, you can't really fight it, just the same way the institutions are selling off Bitcoin and crypto. You can't really fight that because the money that we have as individuals doesn't compare to such a large institution, gaming the price action in a way where they know that if they sell a certain amount of Bitcoin or crypto, they could probably buy it back the next day, and all those gains that we had lost will be returned. And what would you do if you were in a situation where you were in charge of a large hedge fund? Would you want to make the most money as possible? Well, of course, that's the goal, even for us retail investors. But we're not in a situation where we could throw millions and millions of dollars into the market and take it out on a whim. So we're in a strange situation right now. But people that have been in crypto for years and years and years, which I can't say for myself, I've only been in the crypto market for a few years, they've seen this before. They've seen price action flat. They've seen an accumulation zone where, the price doesn't seem to be going significantly up or down in any particular way for such a long time that it kind of bores people out of the market. And a lot of people start losing attention, stop paying attention to the markets as much as they should, because this is the time when all the money is truly made. I mean, obviously a bull run, you're going to see those gains, and your, crypto dreams come to fruition. But now is the time to be keeping your eye on the market more than ever, just to see what kind of advantage you could probably get on the rest of everybody else, while they're probably sleeping at the wheel, just thinking that crypto is asleep at the wheel itself. Someone that pays attention when everyone is, looking the other way is probably going to get the best advantage and edge when the markets do start turning up. And that's what I encourage everybody that watches this channel, that invests into crypto and Bitcoin, or invests in general. Try to understand that things go up, assets go up in value, assets stay flat, assets go down in value. But it's the time when it's flat where all the big decisions are made, all the big moves are made, and you can decide what altcoins or how much Bitcoin you're willing to invest, or how much Bitcoin rather you are willing to acquire to set yourself up for the next bull run, so you can take those profits and be ready for the next bear market. So we have the DOJ selling off, we have Grayscale selling off, and it wouldn't surprise me that in a week or two we hear the exact opposite, where we have someone like Grayscale buying all the Bitcoin that they sold back. It's easy to send the markets down, selling at a higher price point for these institutions, buying back in at a lower price point, and they made such significant gains because of the amount of capital that's flowing in and out of the market. They're going to get such a nice return that money could set a couple individuals up for generations to come. We just won't know who those individuals are, because that money is swirling around an investment fund where there's people that they got to pay themselves, and they're also in the mind of keeping a cash pile just in case there is some sort of black swan event, or we see more turmoil in the markets, which is absolutely possible. Don't think that just because we're in an accumulation zone and that the bear market looks like it's, bottomed out, and we've already seen that bottom at 15,500 US back in November of 2022. Don't think it's possible to go back to those levels or possibly near those levels again before we start going back up. The markets will go up at some point. We're kind of in a waiting game at the moment, but you have to be ready for anything, and you never know. There might be a white swan event right around the corner that sends the price of Bitcoin skyrocketing upwards, especially because the halving event is coming up in only a few months, and usually after around the time of the halving event, we do see a massive price increase for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market following Bitcoin's quick uprise. Usually happens throughout history. It usually happens in about a year's worth of time. You'll see Bitcoin go up rapidly, increase very matter-of-factly, and then the altcoins follow, and then the bear market follows after that. So if history does rhyme, if things kind of repeat, if these cycles continue to carry out the way they usually do, we're probably going to see something similar. But like I said, we have to be ready for anything. So, the halving event is important. These big institutions buying, obviously we're hearing that they're selling right now, but in my opinion, that could just turn on a dime at any minute, and we can see good news in the market any day now. And we can see the prices start increasing any day now. And all the people that were bearish and, believed that the market, was never going to turn around and never was going to get any better, and we were going to stay in this flat period of time forever, they're going to be sadly mistaken, and they're going to be suffering in the long run, because opportunity loss is just as bad as a loss in itself, in my opinion. So, like I said, while people and institutions, while these boys are selling, you have other boys in the other corner that are buying, and you have Blackrock that's accumulating right now. They seem to be the second largest when it comes to accumulating a massive amount of Bitcoin lately. Grayscale still, I believe, has more than Blackrock in total, but as Grayscale is selling, we can see that Blackrock is accumulating. And don't think these institutions aren't talking to each other. Don't think that these institutions are in each other's ears about what kind of moves they're going to make to benefit off each other's, trades. We also have Fidelity that's smaller than Blackrock, but still quite a big player in the space. They're accumulating as well. So you have Blackrock and Fidelity accumulating while Grayscale is selling. This is important to know because, if two large institutions are buying, as one of the biggest institutions are selling, especially, an entity like Blackrock where they have so much wealth, they might look at Grayscale and say, well, these guys are selling so much. What may be the reason for this big sell-off from Grayscale? They can get their hands on a lot more Bitcoin a lot quicker, while a lot of people think that $40,000 is overpriced for a Bitcoin. While you have guys like Peter Schiff that are coming out now and saying that Bitcoin can hit $10 million by 2030. Meanwhile, this man has been the biggest bear on Bitcoin and, saying things like gold is a better asset, even though that gold hasn't even compared to the types of gains that Bitcoin has had in the last 10, 20 years. So we're in a funny situation right now. You got to understand that people buy, people sell, institutions buy, institutions sell. But when we're in a flat period like this may be the opportunity of a lifetime to accumulate as much crypto as you can, because if the markets start heading upwards, you'll never forget the days in 2022, 2023, 2024, when you were accumulating while everyone thought that Bitcoin was just a flash in the pan, and, was going to go back to very low levels again, because it wasn't the asset everyone thought it was. And if you have that type of conviction, if you have that type of belief in Bitcoin and crypto as an entire sector, and believe it's going to be the next sector of the traditional markets, if it's going to weasel its way into these big players, into the hands of these big players, where they can start saying to themselves, we could see Bitcoin and crypto being, this huge thing by 2035, or, a decade-long outlook where the entire space may be. If they start putting in large swaths of wealth, and you put in like all your crumbs, paycheck to paycheck, trying to invest as much as you can while still trying to maintain whatever lifestyle you like to live, you're going to be heavily rewarded for that, because it only takes a certain amount of money to change an individual's life. I mean, unless you're trying to feed a village, unless you're, unless you got a family of 30, it's going to be, not the most difficult task to have life-changing wealth come your way by investing in an asset space that's so volatile. We're not just talking Bitcoin, we're talking about Ethereum, Cardano, XRP, in my opinion, Dogecoin, some of these other crypto assets like Internet Computer, Optimism, Arbitrum, these kind of cryptocurrencies that are helping Ethereum. All of these cryptocurrencies are going to have a role in the future. Even gaming coins, in my opinion, like one gaming coin that I'm very interested in is Engine Coin. It was doing very well in 2021, came down a lot, but gaming is going to be such a huge thing when it comes to cryptocurrency. I believe that there's going to be such a massive adoption of crypto with next generation gaming, where, for example, having some type of cosmetic in a game being able to be bought and sold through a marketplace, because cryptocurrency allows that to happen, and you're not going to just be transacting in fiat dollars anymore. This is going to be important for cryptocurrency's adoption as a whole, because you have so many gamers, and we have such a digital world where people go home, they get off from work, they're with their family, they're with their friends, and they turn on the TV, or they turn on, they play their favorite video game, and crypto is going to be, intertwined in that sphere, and you're going to have all these different types of ways to interact with gaming and cryptocurrency, and it's going to be so easy that people are going to want to, use crypto instead of, traditionally using a credit card or a bank card to pay for things, as it's going to be not only more lucrative, but also more fun. So we're in a very strange place if we're newer to crypto, as I am, as I've only been in the market for about 3 years now. But there are people that have been in for 5-10 years, and they understand that this happens. Situations like this do occur, where the markets stay flat, everyone loses interest, everyone stops investing, and maybe some people even go as far as to sell most of what they have, and say, well, crypto's not going anywhere, I only lost money on it, I don't want to continue losing money. And that's just not the type of mindset that I endorse. I endorse sticking it out. I'm a big advocate of keeping your nose to the grindstone, and just trying to ride out the wave as best you can. And when you see those returns, pay yourself. And when those returns do come, and if we do make the right moves in this asset space, we will go from 0 to $1 million in crypto.